Damoon here with Birdman down in Vero Beach.
Via satellite, 77 degrees, wearing a ski hat so you guys will feel more comfortable.
It is currently snowing outside here in Brooklyn. I think we're gonna have this episode go up shortly this week because it's time relevant, so people will know what's going on with the weather. They won't hear about it in 2 months from now.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the beginning of the new year, so just wanted to jump in with straight talk about how to set up 2025 for success.
Roadmap, right, brother? Roadmap it.
Road mapping. It's interesting. You brought up the topic of road mapping when we were talking before, and the only time I think I've really road mapped long term in my training is when competitions are coming up.
Sure.
So I think for me, road mapping for specific milestones is, something I'm familiar with. But setting up like, hey, it's the beginning of the year, looking forward at the next little bit of jiu-jitsu, like what that looks like, is a little different.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you a question. Why did you pick that particular moment to roadmap? Why? I know it's because of competition, but why?
I guess because you're seeing different things coming up, like in the future, like it's different.
Okay.
It's you're breaking up the pattern of your regular training.
What emotion are you tapping into when you roadmap for a competition?
What emotion? Like, what are you trying to mitigate? What are you trying to tackle?
There's something going on in your head. What is that's causing you to roadmap it?
Okay, expectation. Like, I need to be at a certain point for the competition here. I need to be physically, mentally, technically prepared. So,
but why? I'm going tough on you today.
Why?
There is a one-word answer for this. Fear.
Fear.
Fear of losing.
Fear of losing
Fear of being embarrassed. Fear of looking like you don't know what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Basically, deep down inside, that's what happens to us, especially fighters. You don't want to be that guy who gasses. You don't want to be that guy who can't pass the guard.
Yes.
You don't want to be that guy that gets taken down 20 times in the fight.
No.
Right?
Yes.
So how do we get the hobbyist to understand that drive?
That's a good question.
Right?
That's a good question.
How do we now? We know the competitor, fear drives that. You can say anything else you want, but it's fear.
Yeah.
Deep down, you'd have to admit to yourself that there's some fear in there.
Yeah.
So what do we sell the hobbyist on? What should drive them to come up with a roadmap, a game plan, so to speak, and to do their best to stick with it?
I think that's a really good question.
Yeah, and this could go for anything in life. If you have a weight loss plan for the new year, if you have a quit smoking plan, if you have a make your diet better, get your half marathon time down, be more efficient at work so you have more free time. There's all kinds of things, but what's going to really push people to set up that roadmap?
I think what we default to a lot of times, which I don't think is the best answer, is our little competitions we have in the gym with the people that are next to us, right?
Yes.
Sometimes it's good, but a lot of times it gets us in trouble.
Yes. Thank you.
What,
cookies? Fresh out of the oven, Damoon. Fresh out of the oven, chocolate chip. Thank you.
You've been on a baking spree over there?
Come on. This is paradise, right?
Yes.
Dr. Pepper flows from the rain gutter, right? Twizzlers grow on trees here, Damoon.
That's right.
Chocolate chip cookies just fly out of the oven.
If Willy Wonka had an opportunity to create a biome, it would be Vero Beach.
Florida's governor Vero Beach's mayor is Willy Wonka.
That's right.
I don't know why you didn't know that. But anyway, sorry that we digress. But yes, what is going to have the hobbyist, I would say, is a person who, and I'm just making a blanket statement, and I know it's going to piss people off, and I don't care. But a lot of people are looking for instant gratification, right?
Yes.
Now, does instant gratification and a roadmap to this year, do those lanes cross? Do they?
No.
No, they don't come together. So you have to put your expectations, adjust your expectations. You have to really, really convince people there is no secret handshake in jiu-jitsu. There's no cheat code. There's no, when I get that purple belt, Damoon's going to give me this little booklet and,
there's no,
I'm going to be,
you don't get sprinkled.
I'm going to be,
you don't get sprinkled with the magic black belt powder.
there's no magic dust. Nobody took me behind the curtain and said, okay, this is how it really works. This is all you have to do. That doesn't happen. So you have to adjust your expectations, and I would leave instant gratification for other endeavors.
Fair.
Okay? But you have to some people, you may have to, I don't know, maybe introduce them to a little fear, not by doing something to harm them, but hey, you can do what you want to do, but when everybody else gets better around you, don't come to me.
Right?
Right? Don't question why you don't have stripes or belts or this or that if you're not following some sort of a roadmap to get better. It's just not, when you walk through the door, the dust doesn't fall on you and you just get better. Or just by the osmosis of being on the mat, just laying there isn't going to make you better. You have to really, you went to college, right?
Yeah.
Did you have a plan?
Sort of. I mean,
no, like when they outline the class or the course.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And they tell you I'm sure they tell you where papers and tests and everything are.
Yeah, at the first day. It's the first class is generally, hey, on this day you're going to have a homework due, on this day you're going to have a test, on this day you're going to have the report, on this day you're going to have the lab, whatever it is, yeah.
Now, did you wing it, or did you have a plan?
I mean, even within winging it, there's a plan, right?
I could agree with you, yeah.
Right? So even whether I maybe wasn't always the best student in most of my classes, but even within that, it's like, hey, if I'm going to goof off, I'm not going to goof off at these times. I got to set that week up because I know the exam's that week, right?
Yeah, or, hey, I got 3 weeks. I'm going to work, goof off, and work.
Right. Yes.
That's a plan, right?
Yes.
You still got the work done, right?
Yes.
And it was a conscious decision to get the work done.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, jiu-jitsu, do you think a lot of people make conscious decisions to drill and to review and repeat and maybe write things down? Do you think people make a conscious effort?
I think for the most part, we just show up to class and we think that's enough.
Yeah. And I'll go one further. We're in the cell phone age, right? I think people take all these videos and they never go back and watch them.
Oh, you're right.
Right? They make it a point to be in the front and get all the video. They're not paying attention to the lesson. They're just staring at that screen, really not thinking. And then do you think they go back? And I'm talking the majority of people.
So you're saying they go to a seminar, they go to a lesson or whatever, they film the instructor, they make it...
They're not... Yeah,
but they're not going back and reviewing it.
They're completely not present, so they're not paying attention. They're filming, okay? And then they're not even going back and reviewing that film later on. So
Right.
It's like, I was at the seminar with whoever, and I remember when I was going to seminars, a lot of people thought they were just better for being there. You know what I mean?
I paid for the seminar, I'm here.
I'm here.
Some people think they're better when they buy the $300 show roll gi too.
Yeah, it's exactly, they think, they don't know that you have to work harder than the instructor works. Right?
Yeah.
Because the instructor may not word things exactly how your mind recognizes things. They may not use the same vocabulary that you're used to. Right? It may be completely different than the way you are at your school. So it's your job to decipher that information and use it for good.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You have to be an active student.
Yes. I think we talked about this once before. If everybody needs to learn how to learn.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you're a white belt and you're new to jiu-jitsu, in your 25 roadmap, number one in that should be learn how to learn better, right? Just focus more on how to take this stuff apart and make it more digestible for your brain, right? Because everybody's different. So think about yourself as an individual. You know how you roll, and you know what your skill level. You should know your skill level. You should be honest to yourself. That's next. Number one is be honest to yourself. Number two, learn how to learn better, right? Because that's a skill set all on its own.
Yeah, 100%. Learn how to ask questions. I think looking for how to find the right questions also dictates, it changes the way you roll, changes the way you drill. Because you're not just looking to make, when you're in class, you're not just looking to make, when you're drilling, the technique, kind of trying to force it to be the same as what the instructor showed, but it should also be intuitive to your body. So if you need to like muscle something while you're drilling, or you need to, if something's really difficult when you're drilling, you're probably doing it wrong.
Yes.
Meaning your partner is not giving you any resistance. Hopefully, if you're a partner, you shouldn't be giving any resistance, right? But your partner's not giving you any resistance, and if it feels
it's not working,
probably means you got something wrong. Part of learning how to learn is knowing to ask the question, rather than trying to, smush the square into the circle hole. Be like, hey, something here feels like it's more difficult than it should be. Call the instructor over. What am I doing? What did I miss? Right? And that's part of learning how to learn, is setting yourself up to find the questions, right? You find the questions when things don't work as easily as they should.
Set yourself up for success is what you're saying, I think, right?
Yes. Yes. Right.
Yeah.
So how does that translate into a roadmap? So do we just, we'll go through more of these goals for the year, but once we find the goals, how does that translate into a roadmap?
Okay. We're going on a road trip.
Yeah.
What's the first thing we do?
Probably make a checklist of everything we need for where we're going.
Yep.
Where are we going? How do we get there?
Yeah. Where are we going?
Where are we going?
Okay. You got to make a list of what you got to put in the car.
Yeah.
You got to pack it in the car.
You got to pack it in the car.
Right? You got to maybe look at a map.
Figure it out. I mean, pre Google Maps, we used to print out, or when we used to have the map, but even
a road atlas, a big fold out trucker road atlas. Yeah. Look, determine, okay, we got to make rest stops. We got to get gas. We got to eat.
Absolutely.
Right? It's a whole journey. So, it's I think some people see jiu-jitsu as far-fetched B movies, like action car chase movies, right? Where they're car chasing for hundreds of miles, shooting each other. The guns never run out of bullets. The cars never run out of gas. The tires never go flat. They fall off a 3-story roof and they're fine. It's all this far-fetched stuff because it's a movie. It's fake.
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, people in this kind of bombardment of media outlet world we live in, do people think that's how jiu-jitsu is? That, bad things aren't going to happen. I'm never going to get gassed. I'm never going to run out of clean gis.
My shoulder's never going to get sore.
Yeah, I'm never going to be sore. I'm going to be at every class, right?
Yeah.
So when you make a trip, you have to allow for extra time for things that happen, right?
Absolutely.
If you have to be there at noon and the place is 2 hours away, do you leave at 10 o'clock?
No.
No, you leave earlier, because what if there's more red lights than green lights? What if there's traffic? Oh, I forgot. I got to stop and get gas.
Yeah.
You know,
You get there and you can't find parking.
can't find parking.
Right.
Yeah. So you have to always account for problems, just normal life that pops up. You know, like you go to a school. It's like, okay, on this date in whatever month, you're going to be a blue belt. And it happens. Is that real?
I think people forget that the belt shouldn't be the goal. It's just, it's like feedback from your instructor that you're on the right track.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, some schools, other schools just keep you paying money to stay there.
Right.
It's the carrot and the stick.
Hey, if you hang out for another 11 months, you got your purple belt.
Yeah. Okay. If you pay in advance, 9 months.
That's right. Pay in advance and take 2 privates, right?
Yeah. Tell you what, I'll give you the purple belt. You can take it home, wear it in your house, and I'll tell you when you can wear it at school.
Okay, so as we set our goals, it's not just about setting the goal. The goal will be the destination, right? It's about how do we get there? How do we get there on time? How do we get there in one piece?
Yep.
Do you think it's worth it? I think New Year's is always a good time for people to like reassess whatever they're doing in life, but we're talking about training, so we're talking about training. Do you think the goals should be set for just the year, or do you think it's just a good time to say, hey, this is what I'm trying to do with my jiu-jitsu, let me get my routine back on track?
Well, depending on who it is, there's different points we can pick out. You know, I think Pans are in March, right?
Sure.
So some people, January 1, might say, okay, well, I need to be this by March 1 because the Pan Ams. Some people be like, hey, there used to be battle at the beach in the Jersey Shore. Okay, that's Labor Day. It was either Labor Day or Memorial Day weekend. I think it was Labor Day. So okay, if it's Labor Day, by July 1st I have to be, or July 15th I have to be here if I'm going to fight there. So there could be a competition. Maybe your school has a belt ceremony. Okay, so the belt ceremony is 11 months away, 6 months away. I got to be on it. I've got to be sharp. I have to be doing all the things so my instructor knows I'm ready for that next level. If you're just a hobbyist, I wouldn't go a whole year. The most I would go, if you're a white belt, blue belt, is 6 months.
Okay.
Right? A year is too far away. You'll lose focus.
Yeah.
And the less you know, I would say the shorter time I would give it.
Okay.
Right? I'm brand new. I started training December 1st. So I shouldn't be looking a year ahead, January 1st. Actually, you know what? In 4 weeks, I want to know how to do a hip escape, a head escape, and a forward and back roll, like no problem. No issues. Anytime I can do it. And maybe understand a little more about the jiu-jitsu vocabulary. Okay? 6 months. I want to be able to roll a full roll 5 minutes without being completely gassed out.
Yeah.
It's just little victories add up. It doesn't need to be one giant, win.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, speaking of which, now's the time when a lot of people start joining jiu-jitsu. January, February.
Yes.
They give it a go. For people that are new, what are the goals they should be setting for themselves for the next 3 to 6 months? We already mentioned
Don't quit.
Yeah.
Don't quit. That's rule 1. Don't quit.
Don't quit.
Right? Keep going. I would say in the first 2 months, if you're training twice a week, only allow yourself in the month 2 days to take off for whatever. Do you see balloons on the screen?
I just saw balloons, yes.
Did you do that?
Nope. Maybe Google decided it's one of our birthdays.
Not mine. Is it yours?
No, it's not. So, in 6 months, if you're training twice a week, try not to allow yourself to take more than... When you say 2 breaks, you're saying like 2 days off.
2 days off in a month.
In a month? Oh, in a month. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's say there's like 4 weeks in a month. You're getting 8 classes. Try to at least make it to 6 of the ones that you planned on. It's pretty good. 75%.
Yeah, I mean, you have to give yourself fewer outs, right?
Yeah.
Because if I'm going Tuesdays and Thursdays, if I miss Tuesday, I can't make up for that on Thursday. I can't get twice the information,
No.
right? I can't get 2 classes worth of information in one class.
Right.
I can't get 2 classes worth of roles in one class. It just, you can't. You've lost that class. It will never be repeated. You can never make it up. You can never get it back.
I think also consistency is really important because a lot of things, first of all, technique builds on itself, but
Yes.
also the getting acclimated to the sport requires, you got to be swimming in the water. You can't just keep dipping your toe in. You gotta like be in it.
Come in.
You gotta get in. So I think road mapping and setting a schedule of training ahead of time, right? Hey, this is going to be my routine. I have 2 things. Oh, if someone's birthday comes up, I'm allowed to take, I have a day off in case someone's birthday. I have a day off in case, it's an anniversary or something. But that way you keep the routine, you stay immersed, you stay consistent.
Yeah. And, here's the big problem. You need to discuss this if you have a significant other. You need to discuss this plan with them. And say, hey, I'm committing to something. These are going to be my days. I would like to not have to miss any of those for, unless it's an emergency. Right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's, your partner. You have to, I think everybody everybody involved needs to understand what you're looking for.
No, absolutely. That's part of road mapping, right? It's just, hey, I'm going here. This is how long it's going to take. This is when I'm going to be gone.
Because on this journey, you have passengers with you sometimes.
Absolutely.
Maybe they want to stop every 15 minutes for a bathroom break.
Right.
You have to take that into consideration when you make your trip.
And staying consistent with the plan. I think a lot of people, they like to do. On the flip side of it, sometimes we get into spurts where we want to sprint. Oh, yes. Hey, I'm really liking this. This week I'm going to try to hit every class.
Nope. Slow and steady.
Slow and steady. It's okay to hit an extra class or 2 or whatever, but if it's going to prevent you from being on your regular schedule the next week because you're tired, you're sore, you're burnt out, doesn't make sense.
And you're also thinking about retention. You used to understanding 2 techniques a week. Then you throw 4 techniques in that week.
It's a lot.
It might be too much, right?
Yes.
So maybe you misunderstand 4 things and you don't get 2 things. So you went twice as much, but you didn't retain the same amount of information than when you go twice.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Slow and steady.
Yeah.
So that's part of it. Now, in terms of prep for your routine, what are things that you think people can do in advance? Hey, all right, I'm going to train twice a week. I'm going to train 3 times a week. I'm going to start by throwing out, I think, one thing that's often overlooked until you're training for a while is laundry.
I was thinking the same thing.
Is when are you going to wash your gis? And you guys better be washing your gis after every class. Regardless if you broke a sweat, regardless if you rolled, you wash the gi, right? When are you washing your gis? And if you're washing your gis once a week and you're doing it a group thing, do you have enough gis to get through the week? Belts, whatever. I think that's the most overlooked, but it's also the most obvious once you've been training, right?
Mm-hmm.
What else are things that are like noteworthy to prepare for in terms of gear or just?
Well, you're going to have to adjust your water intake, right?
Diet in general. All
Diet in general, yeah. Maybe if you drink alcohol or you smoke cigarettes. Yeah, I'm smoking 3 packs a day. Yeah, you're not going to make it unless you make a change.
right. I think that's part of the scheduling. Is if you drink, hey, on days where you train, alcohol and recovery do not go hand in hand. Physical, right?
No, no.
You got to be
It
ready.
impedes recovery.
What?
It's a direct. It dehydrates you.
Absolutely. So if you like having a drink once a week, you better schedule for that. Hey, you put it on the night that you're not training, right?
Yeah.
When you eat,
Yeah.
a lot of people have difficulty eating before they train. So if you're scheduling for the 2 classes a week, you better also start thinking about, okay, on those days, what time am I eating, what am I eating, and what am I having after? Like you
Yeah,
said,
maybe on your way there, like an hour before, you eat like a bar or something.
right.
Always pack enough water. Pack some snacks because you're burning more calories per day. Right?
Yeah,
So you're going to need more fuel.
absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, I think diet is something that's really overlooked. Also, what you're eating, but these are things like if you talk to someone who's a fitness instructor and they're telling you, go to them and say, I want to get in shape, right? Or they're gonna give you a routine of when to lift and what exercises to do, and there's also going to be a routine of what foods to eat and how much to eat each day. It's the same thing. Your body's getting used to something new. You have to account for the change in diet that you're going to need to accommodate.
So we're back in the car.
Yep.
Okay. What affects gas mileage?
How fast you drive.
How fast you drive.
Stopping.
What's another big one?
I mean, how heavy the car is, what's in the car.
Exactly how much weight is in the car. Okay, last time I made the trip, I made 350 miles before I stopped for gas. We're going to stop for gas right here because I know they're open late at night. Okay? But this time, we loaded the car up with twice as much stuff, and we maybe left a few minutes late, so we have to make up that time, and we only get 320 miles, right?
Yep.
So we're going to be too short to
Hit the gas
limp it
station.
out to get the gas station, so we got to stop somewhere closer. But I don't know what time those gas stations are open till because I normally stop over there. So you've just, by loading more in the car than you used to, driving faster than you used to, you've changed the whole dynamic of this trip.
Absolutely.
And now you're in a foreign place. Like, I don't know.
I think that's a really good point. I think when you're making the roadmap, you got to take a look at what changes have been in your life. You're older. Maybe you have a different job than you did last year. Maybe you got married. Maybe you had a kid. Maybe you have more free time.
Yeah.
Right?
Maybe you just retired.
Maybe you just retired. Right?
Yeah.
So maybe you're going to go stir crazy if you're only training twice a week. Maybe it's a good time to look at going 3 times a week. Or vice versa. We have some friends who just had kids, and it's just like, hey, you used to train 4 or 5 days a week. You're not getting the sleep. Your partner needs help. Maybe you set your roadmap for just maintaining.
There's only so much we can do during the day. If we can't add something to our day without taking something else out, right?
Absolutely.
There's always a trade-off. I train 3 times a day, 5 days a week, and I just had a kid. Yeah, that's not a realistic goal unless your partner just is like, okay, I'll take care of everything. You just do what you want to do.
Right.
And how long can that last? Is that sustainable?
There's yes, exactly. There's maybe some people that can do it, but for most of us, it's not, right? It's not and even if it is, it's not a healthy relationship with anything.
No, that's gonna cause big time problems down the road.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
You're setting yourself up for failure.
Yes.
What are we trying to set ourselves up for?
Success.
Success. You're getting this.
Yes.
You might be ready for your brown belt soon.
Hopefully soon.
Hopefully soon. As soon as that check clears, you're going to get your brown belt.
What are some things that you think people should not set as goals? So I think I can see this going either way. Do you think people should set belts as a goal?
No.
I agree. You don't know what the standard is. You don't know what the room is. You don't know what the instructor is thinking. You don't know.
You shouldn't even. First of all, if you don't have a say in something, why are you thinking about it? Right? You don't have a say in it.
No, absolutely.
So why worry about it?
Totally.
You know?
Yeah. It's out of your control.
Yes, you have no control. You may never get a belt.
You may never get
it happens.
Right.
It happens.
Yes.
You know? But yeah, it's just you get it when you get it and don't worry about it, because that's worrying about it is what slows you down. So that should be on your map.
What are other pitfalls you think? I think people aiming for belts in a time frame is a common jiu-jitsu, trap, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to try to get my blue belt in the first 18 months of training, or I'm going to try to get my black belt in 10 years, whatever it is, right? They set this time frame. I need to accomplish this thing with the belt. What are other things you think that when people are setting their goals for the year are things that you shouldn't put on your goal list?
Too many things.
All right.
Right?
Like literally listing too many things.
Yeah, like I'm going to start jiu-jitsu, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to quit smoking, and I'm going to get a dog. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I wouldn't even put lose weight and train jiu-jitsu on the same page.
Choose one.
Pick one. My very good friend Ken Wharton. Do you remember Ken?
Yeah. I don't remember, but I recall I was around.
Okay, so Ken, such a good person, great jiu-jitsu guy, always a smile on his face. Biggest guy in the room, but never used strength. So he came in one day, he's like, I'd like to sign up. I'm like, okay. And I said, have you ever done this before? He's like, yeah, I took a trial class about a year ago. I'm like, a year ago? He's like, yeah. I came in because I loved it so much, so I decided to lose 100 pounds over the next year before I started. I'm like, wow, that's so incredible.
That is, yeah.
But he was smart enough to know, like, hey, I can't do both at the same time.
I need to focus on one.
So he took a year to lose weight. And then he came back. And then trained jiu-jitsu and was, such a great addition to our program. But it's like, okay, if you want success, that's how you have to map it out. Right? You can't lose 100 pounds and start jiu-jitsu and expect to do both effectively in that year. It's just too much. Because you're going to take in less calories, right?
Yeah.
And you're going to exert more. What do you think that's going to lead up to?
It's injury.
It's just a recipe for disaster. You're exerting more watts, more energy, and
you're burning more.
You're burning more and putting in less.
Yeah. You're going to burn out, you're going to get tired, you're going to get hurt.
You're going to get sick of both things, and you're going to give up on both of them.
Yep. No, that's good. Pick one thing, focus on it.
Especially if you're doing a major change to your life, like training jiu-jitsu, I would consider a major change.
Yeah.
Right.
It demands more time than, let's say, picking up other sports. Like, you can't do jiu-jitsu once a month.
Yeah. You can't go, I'm going to do every other week and this and that and hang out. No, you're just not going to get anywhere.
Right.
You're going to be frustrated and discouraged.
It's really not fun if you're not going consistently.
No, it's not. It's hard. It's
always
really
going to get beat up.
It'll always be the nail.
You'll always be the nail, yes.
You'll always be somebody's, I'll roll with you. I'm tired. You'll always be someone's frustrated, tired roll, right?
Yeah.
They're going to take it all out on you.
So don't pick too much. Don't focus on the belt. What are some other don'ts you think people target? Don't do it for the gram. Don't do it for Instagram.
Yeah. Well, don't let it consume your whole life.
Okay.
Right? These people, it's everything jiu-jitsu then. They got they go out and they get the flip-flops with a little Brazilian flag. I forget the name of that company who makes those.
Yeah.
And, don't let it, don't go home and, buy every book and read it, listen to every podcast and watch every jiu-jitsu video.
You only need to listen to our podcast.
Yeah, our podcast. Because we rarely talk about jiu-jitsu techniques.
That's right. Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You want a good cookie recipe? Yeah. You want to know where to get the best burger in Jersey, a.k.a. White Manna? Yeah, you talk to us. But other than jiu-jitsu, we don't focus on like, the up-to-date technical fad of jiu-jitsu. We don't get into that. We get into philosophy and, just how to be a better human being.
Yes.
There's enough jiu-jitsu people who are idiots. We'd like to build a culture of non-idiot jiu-jitsu people.
So we're looking for, when you're setting your goals for the year, your goal isn't to become one with jiu-jitsu. Your goal is to create a routine of jiu-jitsu that's going to benefit the rest of your life.
I think you should be looking for balance in your life. And I think jiu-jitsu will help you find balance. Because if you're all consumed by jiu-jitsu, is that balance?
No.
No. You're just replacing one all consumption with another.
Right.
Maybe you're all consumed with work or porn or, I don't know, TV.
Yeah.
Right? You take that away and you don't even, you probably just share it with the new thing.
Right.
So don't be all consumed by it. Because jiu-jitsu, trust me, jiu-jitsu will never be all consumed by you.
No. Jiu-jitsu doesn't think about you at night.
Jiu-jitsu does not think about you ever. So try to find balance in your life. And jiu-jitsu can help you do that.
And that starts with our roadmap.
Starts with a roadmap, right?
It's, truck drivers are only legally allowed to drive a certain amount of hours a day and a certain amount of hours within a week, right? Before they've even gotten into the cab, doesn't matter how they're feeling. When they're mapping their way across America, they got to make the delivery. That's the max they can do.
Yes.
Same thing for our roadmap, right? There's a certain, you have a life, you have a partner, you have a job, you have hobbies, you have responsibilities. Jiu-jitsu needs to fit in that. Don't try to squeeze in more than you can fit. Yeah. And you start that from day one when you're scheduling out your roadmap. When
you first decide you want to do it.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the jiu-jitsu path is littered with people who train less than 1 month and have 2 gis, 5 rash guards, 2 white belts, everything. They had the whole kit.
Yeah.
But they only trained a couple weeks because they took on more than they could handle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Would that be something safe to say?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you have to really think whether this is for you and look at yourself and be honest. Look at your track record with other things you've done. Right? Have you started everything and not completed everything else?
Yeah.
Now, maybe something else like Gymnastica Naturale to start or a fitness program to start to see how you do with that. Right? Don't tarnish jiu-jitsu for yourself if you're not ready for it. And I think the person has to be honest with themselves of whether or not they're ready. You just had a kid, you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to quit smoking, your boss just laid off 3 people and doubled your work. Yeah, I'm going to start jiu-jitsu now. Balance?
No.
Is there a way to insert jiu-jitsu and find balance?
Is there a way? Well, if you're already that overloaded, adding the next thing is just,
So you're setting yourself up for?
Failure,
right? Is it the instructor's fault that you didn't get it and you failed?
No.
But we feel that we fail you, don't we?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep. So we've talked about the don'ts, and we mentioned earlier on, like, one of the do's of setting a milestone. You said, like, hey, pick like a few movements, a hip escape, a forward roll, get to know the warm-up, right? What are some good milestones, goals to set for like a 3-6 month period when you're setting your roadmap in jiu-jitsu? I think it's very difficult with jiu-jitsu because it's like, if you want to say, learn to do an arm bar, right? Even an arm bar from a certain position, we know that you could do the same arm bar for 10 years and still be getting better at it in the 11th year, right?
Yes.
So what are good ways of like phrasing those goals to ourselves of getting better at stuff so that it's something that's attainable but realistic at the same time?
Yeah. Well, I would say if you're doing, let's say we're doing a 6 months map.
Yeah.
Right? Pick your weakness. What are you weakest at? And that's, again, where you have to be honest with yourself. And say, you know what? I am horrible at guard retention. Okay. Where does that start? Okay, awareness. When does it happen? Okay, this is where it happens. We list. Okay, now, what are some drills I can do by myself to improve this? Right? I know if I create more space, I have a better chance of regarding or getting to my knees. Okay, so if I'm on my back and I'm being passed, the easiest way to create space is a hip escape, right? So I better be real good at hip escapes, right? So that's something I could do on my own when I'm not at the school. At the school, I can drill with a partner and this and that, you know. But when I'm at home, I really have to put a little effort in as well, where I'm going to, you know, do solitary things that are going to help me get better at this, right? If we really want to roadmap it, we need more than just that hour in the class. Right. If you want to get there, if there's space for you to do some things or a little time after, great. But if you got a small yoga mat or a soft rug or something, you can do most of these drills, right?
Yeah.
So that's something you don't have to have a partner. You don't even have to be wearing the gi to get better.
So I'm hearing something. I want to see what you think of it. When we're setting our goals, do you think it's more valuable not to say, hey, I want to get better at guard retention, I want to get better at hip escapes? It sounds like saying, hey, you assess where we're going. I need to get better at guard retention. I need to get better at hip escapes. Therefore, my roadmap is 10 minutes before class on Mondays, that once a week, I'm going to do hip escapes. I'm going to work on hip escapes, right?
More specific, more intentional.
More specific, more intentional, and it's not about the outcome. I'm not saying, hey, for instance, I need to lose 20 pounds this month. I'm saying, hey, I'm going to cut out chocolate, right?
Yeah.
If you want to get better at arm bars, you're not going to say, hey, I need, by this date, I'm going to get better at arm bars, and you magically get better at arm bars.
No.
You say, hey, for the next 3 months, anytime I roll, the only submission I'm going to try to attempt is an arm bar.
Or you look at the components that make up the arm bar, and you get better at them individually. Right?
Right.
Because when you think armbar, you're thinking of the finish.
Right.
You just want to get to that finish.
No,
That's
absolutely.
If you just want to get the finish better, you can't, because you have to get the beginning and the middle better too.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you have to. It's the way you think about it. Is you have to break things down. You take all the components that it takes for an armbar, and you get better at each one of those individually. Then your armbar gets better on its own.
On the second class I attend every week, on this day, I'm going to spend 10 minutes after class working this movement, drilling this technique.
Yeah.
When I can.
At home. At home. When I get up in the morning, I'm going to do 5 minutes of hip escapes. Just back and forth. 5 minutes. That's it. Right? That will start to add up. Then it's like, okay, I'm going to do 5 minutes. Then when I come home at night, before I go to bed, I'm going to do 5 minutes.
And if you guys are doing these roadmaps at home, or you're thinking about it, it's really valuable to write it down.
Oh, absolutely.
What's my goal? What am I trying to get better at? What's my time frame? What are the actual things I'm looking to do, right? What's my plan? And you can come back to that and modify it or whatever when you want to do it again in 3 months or 6 months. You know what works with, like you said, you know where the gas stations are. You know when you run out of gas. Yeah. Maybe you need to incorporate more breaks. Maybe you can handle another class. Maybe you can do, maybe hip escapes before class isn't as useful as hip escapes in the morning when you wake up, whatever it is. And you take notes, not just notes on techniques, but notes on how you're training.
Yeah. And also, we're taking this trip. We're supposed to be there at noon, right?
Yep.
We left at 10 a.m. Okay? It's 5 to 12, and we're still 20 minutes away. Do we calculate that we need to go 185 miles per hour on average to get there on time?
Nope.
Or do we say, you know what, we get there when we get there?
We get there when we get there.
Yes. Don't feel like, oh my God, I'm a week and a half away, and I'm so far, I have to just cram everything in. No, you don't. No, you don't. Stick at your pace. Okay, instead of June 1st, I'm going to make this July 1st just because I know I need a little extra time.
Right.
And then July 1, you review and you choose your next trip,
Right.
your next destination. But don't feel that you have to cram things in. No one's keeping score on this. No one's watching. This is almost like this is something good you're doing for yourself.
Right.
So don't feel that you have to cheat to get it in a certain time. Don't cheat yourself.
No, not at all. I want to add to that also. If you have a plan, you set a plan, you have your roadmap, and you get to your destination, or you get close to your destination, I think you should reward yourself.
Yeah, and you should reward Damoon and myself as well.
Yes, definitely.
Yes, yeah. So if you make your roadmap like we told you, and you did there, and you got there fine. We like Bonnie's, we like wings, we like burgers. Damoon really likes their chocolate shakes. Just point of interest, we like that stuff.
I've got to make a visit pretty soon, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's you put the routine in, you put the plan in, you woke up an extra 15 minutes early once a week to get your hip escapes in.
Yeah.
Give yourself a pat on the back after 3 minutes, right?
Yeah. You did it.
Yeah.
You executed. You did it. I mean, your jiu-jitsu is getting better.
Yes.
That's what everyone's goal should be, is their jiu-jitsu getting better. That's it. It's not about what you're winning, who you're losing to, how many hours you spend on the mat. It's about your jiu-jitsu getting better. And ultimately, it's about you being a better person.
Right.
Right? Do you just want to get better at jiu-jitsu, or do you want to get better at life? I want to get better at life. Jiu-jitsu is helping me do that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of what do you call red herrings. Getting a belt promotion doesn't mean you're better at jiu-jitsu. Winning a competition doesn't mean that you're better at jiu-jitsu. Getting better at jiu-jitsu means you got better at jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. What about, I call it fool's gold, right? You've heard me say that.
Yeah.
Fool's gold,
Fool's
yeah.
gold.
You're chasing it, but it's not worth anything.
No. You can game the system, right? Like you said, you can go to a school where you take some privates with the instructor, you get your belt a little bit earlier, or you go to a competition and you got a gold medal, but who showed up that day to the competition, right?
Yeah. Made it to the podium. You're the only person on the podium with your gold medal.
Right. The photo just gets cropped out, right?
Yeah, you crop out that there's no one else there.
That's it.
Okay, you got the belt, you won the medal. Then they stop by your school. Does that belt and that medal protect them from Nicky Five Stripes? It does not. Does Dwayne give them a break? No, he doesn't.
So
is Peter going to take his foot off the gas?
No.
Is Eric going to give him any sympathy?
No. So that's the only. You get better at jiu-jitsu when you get better at jiu-jitsu.
That's it.
And the only way to get better at jiu-jitsu is to get the mat time in.
Yeah, is to put the time in, right? There is no shortcut. Put the time in. And it's not like you have to be 8 hours a day in the gym. It's not that.
No.
It's you have to be efficient. You have to work smart.
Yeah.
You take a few minutes and just do simple, touch your toes and stretch at lunch. Do simple things. That all adds up. Review your notes. If you take notes, you finish lunch at work, read through your notes for 5 minutes. Just keep that information circling in your head. I mean, you could go on the phone and scroll through endless secondhand information, or you could read something you wrote about something you're passionate about, right?
Yeah.
Go through your notebook. Don't scroll through the internet. That's if you want to get better at the internet, you want to get better at jiu-jitsu.
That's it.
Right?
And you want to get better at your jiu-jitsu.
Yes.
Right? You want to find your jiu-jitsu and get better at it.
Yeah.
You don't want to just be copying someone else or trying to copy someone else that may or may not work for you.
Yeah.
Right? Good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Any call-outs, any shout-outs, any messages for people in the new year for 2025?
I don't know. I guess I haven't really thought about it. It was funny because I'm very happy with the direction this was going, but I was trying to think about I thought we were going to talk about what our roadmaps were. Maybe next week we'll talk about our roadmap.
Cleaner toilets. Cleaner toilets.
Do you have a roadmap?
Do I have a roadmap?
Yeah. I'm just curious. I'm not putting you on the spot, but I kind of am, but I'm not.
I don't know if I make a roadmap. I think a lot of times at the end of the year I take a accounting of the year before, because I've had pretty consistent routine of training for, just finished, let's say, 7 years. And it's been pretty consistent throughout. Even through COVID, I managed to keep it going. So a lot of times at the end of the year, I take an accounting. Hey, what worked? What are the things I tried new this year? Whether it's for now, it's not just jiu-jitsu. It's also for teaching, right? As an instructor, what did I try different in terms of how I run the class, in terms of how I talk to students, giving more information, giving less information, training a certain way, training more, training less. And I kind of take that and I kind of say, okay, what adjustments, what should we try new for the next year, right?
Yeah, would you keep your roadmap separate as running a school and your rolling? Would you keep them separate?
Ideally, yes. I think realistically, I've had to, because I roll with the school, how I roll with my students influences how they learn. Like, just to give you an example, if I decided that my roadmap was I want to get really good at leg locks, and I just came in and part of that training was just to leg lock everybody, then first of all, how people value leg locks might be kind of unrealistic to how I actually want them to value leg locks, right?
True.
Because I'd be using them a lot more than I normally would, and they would think that it's actually part of my main game, where for me personally, I prefer to pass the guard and attack, arms and neck.
Yeah.
Also, I think sometimes part of my training is maybe doing more abstract movements. Like sometimes it's very fundamental. Sometimes the movements I go for might be off the beaten path, something that's a little bit more nuanced, or might work for me, but not something I would suggest for the rest of my students. And again, if I work those too much and it gets passed down the line, maybe people think it's something they should be able to do when that's not necessarily true. So I have to kind of go back and forth. Sometimes I like to keep my game very basic. So my roadmap personally gets influenced by that. If I see people are getting caught a lot with chokes from the back, then I'll start working personally, getting better at chokes from the back, so they get to work more defending, if that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
So they kind of feed one another. Yeah. But in a perfect world, I'd be able to teach one way, and then I would go train somewhere else and train however I wanted to. But
yeah, that makes sense. That's good, because you and I are in the same boat in a way. And I was thinking myself, I would think, I'd have to have two different game plans, but can I? I don't know if I can.
We discussed this prior. Is like the game plan you enact is you kind of meet your training partner at their level, right?
Yeah.
And if most of the time you're rolling with people at a certain level, that's kind of where you're forced to have your own roadmap.
Yeah.
And I evolved with the school. I have a lot of blue belts this year. So, all right, leg locks are back on the menu a little bit, I'm not great at leg locks. It's a great opportunity for me to practice them and for them to defend them.
And who better to practice on than blue belts?
That's right. But yeah, so I think a lot of times I roadmap short term a lot through the year.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like a lot of people are defending my arm bars or chokes or whatever, and I'm like, okay, I need to get better at this component of it. I'm going to focus on this. So one month at a time. But for the year in general, I think it's a lot of it has more to do with what was I doing last year, what worked, what didn't work, Yeah. I did a lot of choking last year. My wrists hurt, so I think it's going to be we got to be more selective on those.
More wrist locks, right?
Maybe, right? What about you? Any thoughts on that? How you roadmap?
Well, I know business-wise, I'm going to focus on doing more clinics, and just how I kind of work with the white belts. I'm just getting more focused on that. And it's funny, I'm teaching the white belts, and I have the higher belts are asking tons of questions on what we're doing.
Right. Yeah.
That's a great thing. It's great for the white belts to see that, hey, I'm showing something to them, and black belts are asking questions. Hopefully they'll start to ask more questions. But, if I'm showing stuff that the white belts are comprehending and black belts are asking questions, they can definitely understand the information. They should hopefully catch on that they should really focus on this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's easy
So
to...
we've been doing guard passing every Sunday now. It's just guard passing during the class, and it's just the Baja pass.
Right.
That's all we talk about.
But that's,
Tiny little details.
That's a type of road mapping, right? Every Sunday, we're going to do guard passing.
Yeah, so guard passing should be on everyone trains with me. If you're making your roadmap, guard passing should be somewhere on that because we work on it once a week no matter what else we do.
There you go.
Tonight we're bottom of turtle, I believe. Or a couple weeks ago we were bottom from turtle on that night. But every Sunday is, guard passing Sunday.
That's awesome. All right. A lot of good things coming for 2025. I think we'll wrap it up there.
Awesome.
I'm going to put this episode out earlier so people don't end up catching it in March. So it'll go up hopefully within the week, still first 2 weeks of January.
Perfect.
And well wishes to all. Happy New Year. Have safe training on the mats. And I guess we'll catch you guys in the next episode.